Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, welcome to today's program. My name is Warren Stokes, Director of Sales at Avidian Technologies, and we are the developers of Profit CRM. Profit CRM is an easy-to-use CRM embedded in Microsoft Outlook, and it helps solve the biggest problem in CRM, which is gaining end-user adoption. Have an awesome topic for you here today. And it's really about how to grow your business and generate more revenue by learning the 7 secrets of great sales pipeline management. Just a little bit about the program today, just for some housekeeping points. This program is being recorded. You will automatically be sent the recording later. And you can also submit questions during the webinar through the chat control panel. I will get back to you with answers to that after the webinar. I have been in sales and or sales management for about 20 years, so certainly haven't just fallen off the turnip truck yesterday. I have implemented CRMs in 4 other companies, 5 including this company, and I have found that one of the key benefits of a CRM solution is helping you manage your sales pipeline. So what I'd like to do first is walk through just some of the concepts, and as I do so, I'll be alternating between my slide deck here and actually a live demonstration of Profit CRM. Now, the concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you today can be applied to really any good CRM, but we'll be using Profit CRM, as I mentioned earlier. So the concepts to start off with have to do with capturing information. So it's not very complicated, but it does require a little bit of discipline. And when we onboard a new client, for example, we provide a lot of training and coaching and consulting on best practices. But one of them is just understanding the data structure and how to capture key data and what to capture. So for example, one of the key records in Profit CRM will be the contact record. That's the record of a person. It's important because so many things start from a contact. Think about it in business and in sales especially. Everything starts with a contact. You meet a person, you have a client or a prospect that you're working with, and you need to be able to capture the contact information. I suggest that you discuss this amongst your team, but I'm going to suggest some minimum information when you create a new contact. That is the full name, email address, phone number, and if applicable, the company name. It's kind of like must have, should have, nice to have. There's other information that you may want to collect. For example, there are 20 customizable fields in Profit that add to the Outlook contact form that we'll be showing you. And you can capture up to 20 additional pieces of information that are kind of attributes to the person. As you'll see, things like areas of interest, hobbies, what type of contact are they, and so forth. And they can all be used for queries and reports and so on. The company record in Profit is created automatically. This is one of the reasons to create a good contact record to begin with. The company record also has customizable fields in it. A total of 72 customizable fields are in the company record. So you can really start tuning in the Profit database for customized for your business and your industry. And then the third type of record is capturing opportunity records, and that's really what will comprise the data for the sales pipeline part of this. And it's interesting. Did you know that it really only takes 4 pieces of information to manage your sales pipeline and produce accurate forecasts? I've learned this over the years. It's really pretty amazing that four pieces of information, if you can just keep up on them to some degree, and those would be like what stage you're in the sales process, the probability of closing, estimated close date, and revenue. And as you'll see when we get into this further, all of those become part of the sales forecasting and sales pipeline management data points. So what I'm going to do right now is go in and show you a little bit about how this works in Profit. And I'm just going to switch over to my Outlook screen. So I want to point out, first of all, that I'm actually in Microsoft Outlook right now. You'll be able to see that there's a set of folders that if you're a Profit user today, if you're already a client, you'll already be familiar with these. These are the CRM folders, so you don't have to leave Outlook. You can literally just click on a folder and you're in the CRM. So for example, I'm just going to give you a little bit of navigation here. Here's my top folder. It's my analytics dashboards. There's a view for my accounts. And there's different lists within these folders, by the way, that you can create. I'll come back to this. I'm just kind of giving you some overall navigation here. There's a contact manager in Profit, and then you can manage your sales pipeline. Now, these folders are easily renamed. In case you don't know how to do this, you just right-click on the folder and rename the folder. Some people call this a lead tracker. Some people call it their opportunity manager. I refer to it as my opportunity pipeline. So let's start by going in and taking a look at what it takes to actually create a contact and then an opportunity, and then we'll show you how you manage some of the activities surrounding those. So I'm going to start, for example, by just showing you that these are just Outlook contacts. I'm in a list called Warren's Hollywood Contacts. You'll recognize some of my friends down in Hollywood. Notice it's just an Outlook contact. And here's where, when I was talking about kind of determining the minimum information you need in a contact, you want full name. If you somehow get it mixed up, you can just click on the full name button and you can make sure that they're all in the proper place. And that helps when you're doing sorting and filtering. But basically, if you just put in the first and last name, company name, if applicable, if you're in a business-to-business sales organization, job title is nice, but not necessarily. You don't always get that right out of the gate. But email address and phone number, of course, are critical. Extra credit if you can get their physical address, because that can be used to help you identify, where they are geographically and so forth. And then, as I was saying, Profit adds 20 customizable fields to the contact record in Outlook. These are completely up to you to define. There are defaults, of course, that come with Profit, but these are where you can define what type of contact they are. Maybe you want to know, what the lead source was, or what their LinkedIn profile was if you have it, what their areas of interest, hobbies, and so forth. Role. So these additional profile fields are available simply by clicking on the Profit ribbon. And if you'd like to do what I've done, you can actually show some of these commonly used buttons down here, which open up, the opportunity record or the user-defined fields I was just showing you, or any number of things. So this is just an Outlook contact, and we kind of turbocharge it with some additional functionality. There's a lot of ways to create a contact. I'll just show you a few of them right now. Of course, I could just say, hey, I want to create a new contact. And you can do this either in Outlook or Profit. It's really the same. If I say create a new contact, it just brings up what we call a dupe checker. Let's say I met Tom, what was his last name? Hanks. Okay, so I'm creating a new contact. In this case, though, Profit introduces a dupe checker. So this allows you to helps you prevent having duplicate data in your system. Now, it could be there are really two people with the same name, or two or more people with the same name, but this certainly helps prevent duplicates. I can either continue on with the new contact if it's another Tom Hanks, or in this case, I can just open the record. So it's really easy to create a contact. That would be manually. Usually, you do not have to create contacts manually that often. Maybe from a phone. Like an inbound phone call or something. You may also know that it's easy to create contacts from an inbound email. So, for example, if I had an email from someone and I wanted to create a contact for it, I could just drag that email over my contacts folder, and it will again check for duplicates. Now, in this case, that contact already exists, but I could go on and continue to create it. And the content of that email, by the way, by default, will be put into the notes of the system. So that's another way to create a contact, is simply by dragging and dropping an email. A third way to create contacts in the system is through the import utility. I'll show you this briefly. This is not meant to be thorough training on this particular part, but just so you know, you can also import contacts and other types of data into Profit from using our import utility. In the Tools menu, there's an import wizard. And I will show you just kind of a brief example of how you import data. The first thing you do is you tell Profit what type of data you're importing. You can import multiple sessions at once if you like, multiple data types, spreadsheets if you will. They all have to be in Excel. So now I'm just locating my import spreadsheet. And you'll see that and then I add it to my session here for importing. Then by clicking next, I'm in the screen where I'm going to do what's called field mapping. It's very simple. You're just matching up the fields on the left, which are out of the Excel spreadsheet, to the field names as they're referred to in Profit. Sometimes they're a little different. Like it says company name here in the spreadsheet list. In Profit, it's just simply company. You can also auto map fields if they have the same name. So this mapping tells Profit where it's going to import the data, where those data points are going to go in the Profit records. Then you have some options on deduping, again, to help prevent duplicates from being inserted into the system. There's a validation step, and it just imports the data. So there's several ways you can create contacts. And the reason I start with a contact here is that's often where you'll start by creating an opportunity, which will help us then manage the sales pipeline. So, by the way, I'm going to do other webinars, and one in particular on more advanced contact management. We're going to go right into the opportunity and sales pipeline management now, though. So, as I was saying earlier, it's easy to create an opportunity from a contact, and it's a desirable way to do it because, as you'll see, it links all the contact information to the opportunity, and you just do it by clicking. You say create new contact. You can see that button right here, and you can see that I can then create an opportunity from that particular contact. That opportunity that gets created will actually just be available then for you to view either in under the contact record or in the opportunity manager, which we'll get to in a moment. So this is the opportunity that I just created. I would give it some kind of a description. These are customizable fields, all of them. And I'll show you a little bit about that here in a moment as to how to customize fields in Profit. You would, if you're a client, you may have already received the training on this. But the idea is that these are customizable fields. The default status is active, but you can create others. Active, won, and lost are the defaults. The idea here is this is a record to keep track of potential business, maybe a new client, maybe just a new contract with an existing client. But so it defaults as active. The sales stages are basically how you identify where you're at in the sales process. In this case, I'll say it's in proposal stage because he just requests a proposal, let's say. The region is just one of the fields we use. You can see there's probability, estimated close date, potential revenue, and all of these are, again, customizable labels and drop downs and such. Some of them drive reports, though. In the general tab, these all tend to drive a lot of the standard reports. So probability will always be probability, even though you can change the increments and so forth. The estimated close date is always a date field. Some people say estimated bid date or estimated sale date or something like that. Revenue, these two fields are for revenue. You can label them however you state your potential revenue. Estimated annual revenue, I've seen a lot. Monthly revenue or project revenue, things of that nature. So we're just basically capturing the information that is required to manage the opportunity. I mentioned that there are 4 fields that basically can be used to produce forecasts and manage your pipeline effectively. And so those four fields are the stage, probability, estimated close date, and revenue. Now, in some businesses, you may require that you capture additional information. So there are additional tabs of information over here that you can complete. Things like where did the lead come from? Was it a referral, a cold call, a website lead, or what have you? By the way, a little business tip for those in the audience today. One of the things you'll be able to do with Profit is measure what works and what doesn't when it comes to like demand generation, marketing and such. Outbound phone calling, the lost art of the cold call. And by doing that, you'll see what works, what generates the most revenue. So my business tip of the day is find out what works and simply just do more of it. All right, hopefully you're adding some value to your day. So there's a lot of fields. If you don't use them all, you can just leave them blank. And then the bottom half of this record is where you keep track of your activity. Very simple. The whole goal here with Profit, as I mentioned earlier, is to help with user adoption. So the simpler we make it, the better. One of the most common things you want people to do or you want to do with an opportunity is just update the activity whenever you make contact with that person. So one of the things we're talking about here is basically logging in an activity. Now, this is a predefined list of activities so that you don't have to type them in. Why would I want to type in that I left a voicemail 50 times a month? But any types of activity that can be, maybe you want to just take some notes from a meeting. Maybe you want to say I went on an on-site sales call and so on. These activities are also available as reports and dashboards. So I'm just going to point to my dashboards for a moment and explain that. Part of managing your pipeline is helping manage activity levels. So there's 12 dashboards that come with Profit, and I'll just show you an example. If I wanted to go in and either compare activity or drill down into certain types of activity, I just go into my analytics dashboards and I filter it as I need to or want to. So in this case, this shows that I scheduled 61 sales appointments last month. My minimum goal is 40. So if you use KPIs, key performance indicators, or targets for activities and such, you can find it in Profit. So the point there is that those activities are reportable. You can also run like call reports with the notes and things of that nature. We'll do a more in-depth webinar on reporting and dashboards in a future webinar for you. So these activities are just part of the record. They're reportable. They're also available through the mobile app. So I'm going to give you an example of, I'll go into one of my screens here in my opportunity list, and we'll talk a little bit about that, of how you can update this from your phone, for example. Here's a record. I'm working with Hillary, some of my Hollywood contacts again down there. And in this case, I want to record some activity, but I'm out in the field, let's just say. So what you can do with Profit is you can actually just go into Profit mobile app, which I have on my iPhone here. You just look up, there's a one-click shortcut to add some notes. And rather than typing it in, I can just dictate those notes into the record. So let me just dictate some notes into Hillary's record here, and I'll show you how that works. We met to review the new proposal, and they did commit to signing the contract next Thursday. I'll show you what just happened. So that note that I dictated in by phone is actually already in the record, and you'll be able to look it up. Actually, I put it in this one right here. I'll just show you where that note showed up in this particular one. So Tom Hanks has an opportunity in my pipeline, and I inserted the note, and there it is. So you can dictate notes in from the phone. It works great. You can update any of the records from your phone. There's about 100 customizable fields, and you can change the values of these fields, drop downs, put in new date fields, and so on. You can also create new contacts and new opportunities from your phone. So let's review kind of where we're at. We created a contact. There's several ways to do that. All of the ways that we create contacts in Outlook work with Profit. Just remember to capture the minimum required information for your business. You definitely want a useful contact card, so full name, email address, phone number, company info, etc. You can use those customizable fields if you like to add more granularity to it. I mentioned that the company record is created automatically, and you can add additional fields of information from there. Let me just show you an example of a company record while we're talking about that. So the company record is kind of like an Outlook contact card, but you can see it has the contacts associated with it. If you click on those contacts, it'll bring up that individual contact card. You can keep track of notes and history and activity with the account. This is very useful just for like account management. You know, things that are going on. So-and-so called and asked about an invoice. We sent the contract for them to review and so on. These are just notes with your client or company. The customizable fields are 3 tabs. You can rename the tabs to be anything you want. And you can see how you can keep track of like what type of company or client they are, what industry they're in, or any number of things. And then those are available for sorts and filters as well. So the company is created automatically when you create a contact, but you can also create a company just from scratch if you wish. And then the opportunity record was created, in this case, from a contact. Now you can create opportunities other ways. I could say, for example, just create a new opportunity starting with the blank template, and I could go in here and I could select the company or contacts that are associated with that. And this is my webinar training example for the description, and that way we can see what happens with it. So I just created an opportunity from the blank screen, and you can see here that it is now going to be by the way, notice when I went to save that, a little warning came up. There's a required field. Aha! So in Profit, you can make certain fields required. So we have two fields required. You need some description, and you need the type of lead that it is. But that would be completely up to you. while very, very useful, I don't recommend getting too carried away with it and have 50 or 60 required fields, because you'll struggle a little bit with that. So in any event, I just created that opportunity, and now that opportunity can be viewed in the list of opportunities below that, that in this case the company, or it can be viewed from the contact. So that's the idea of just kind of an overview of capturing data, creating a contact, creating a company, and creating an opportunity. Now there's a very important aspect of Profit that allows you to automate follow-up. Here's how it works. Basically, you can just set it and forget it, and it'll generate a kind of a drip series or a trickle series of reminders, appointments, even emails back out to that prospect over a period of time. So it basically ensures that things don't fall through the cracks. Set it and forget it. You'll never lose track of a deal again. So in this case, let me just go into my newly created opportunity here, and let's just say I wanted to create a series of automated follow-up. First of all, each stage can have a different series of automated follow-up. When we get a new lead here, we have a series of outreach that is activated by just clicking the label, which is also a button next to the stage, and it asks me if I want to process workflow for this, and I do. So what just happened is a series of appointments, reminders, and in this case an introductory email has been automatically created. Pretty cool, huh? It picks up the first name here, the company name. Those are part of the templates. I'll show you a little bit about this in just a moment on how to set it up. You can still edit this. It's just an Outlook email. But I'm going to go ahead and send it. Now notice, though, that I have now got a total of 14 touches in my sales follow-up. The first one was the email. I then have another email to follow up. I usually will set up a meeting, which is automated through your Outlook calendar, and then a series of reminders, and then a series of emails that go out, in this case, through May 28th. So you can see that with a click or two, I set up a series of 14 follow-ups. Now, the purpose of this is to help you make sure that leads and opportunities don't fall through the cracks. Very important. Of course, you can see it's almost impossible to let this lead fall through the cracks. Now, these will then pop up either as appointments on my calendar, reminders in my to-do list, or they will be popped up, they will be created as emails. Emails get generated automatically, and on that future date where they're due here, you will be able to see a list of them that pop up and say these are ready to process. I could process them all with a click, snooze, delete, or just process one individually. So here's one that was actually scheduled 7 weeks ago. I would have never remembered to send that. So it's basically a queue. The reason that you have to process it through the queue is just to prevent you from sending an email to somebody you might have talked to 5 minutes ago. So the setting of the automated follow-up helps make sure things don't fall through the cracks. By the way, the emails, appointments, and tasks from that automated follow-up are tracked right here in Profit. So I'll show you a little bit about the tracking of capability of an opportunity. There's the email that I just sent Brad. As a user, you have your choice on how you might want to track emails. In an opportunity, you can check the button that says Auto Track Emails, and then that would mean if I sent Brad Pitt an email just through Outlook, that it would automatically be tracked there. If he replied, the reply would automatically be tracked. I could also link emails from other people to the opportunity and so forth. The appointments that have been created, in this case through the automated follow-up, are right here on my appointment list, and you'll see it's also on my calendar. So if I go into the 28th, you'll see that appointment on my calendar. Pretty awesome. The tasks are also generated automatically. You can see this one's not due till March 6th. So on March 6th, that will pop up, and it will remind me to call, in this case, Brad Pitt, my buddy down in Hollywood. So that's the idea of embedding what we mean when we say Profit is embedded in Outlook. Let's review that quickly because it's a very important point. 1, we use Outlook contacts. 2, we track Outlook emails. 3, we track Outlook tasks. And 4, we track Outlook appointments. By the way, if I were to create a new appointment, email, or task, I could do it right from here. I'll just say I'm going to create a new appointment with Brad here. I'll color it a different color here, and I'll just show you what happens when I put this on my calendar. This is just creating an Outlook appointment. You'll now see it here in the record. So in this case, I can see all the appointments I've had with this prospect. but that has been put on my calendar. So that's the Outlook calendar integration. Very handy. The whole purpose of embedding Profit in Outlook is because people already use their calendar. They already use their Outlook emails. They already use Outlook contacts typically. And some people use the Outlook task function. And by the way, if I wanted to just create a task to follow up on this opportunity, I can just click the task button. Maybe it's to call Brad. Maybe I want to, and right now it's just an Outlook task form. You can use color coding and categorization if you're interested in doing that sometime. I can send you a video on how that's done. But let's just say I wanted to call him, and I wanted a reminder to call him later in the day today. So I'll just go ahead and set that, and you'll see that it pops up here in my task tab here as not started, and now it's showing me I'm going to have a reminder at 3 o'clock to call Brad, and it'll pop up. When I do, I'll mark it complete. Takes it off my to-do list, and everything's complete. Awesome. Another aspect of your sales pipeline is basically keeping track of documents. So we keep track of emails, appointments, tasks, contacts, but you can also link documents to a file, to the record. So this could be a proposal or a quote or most anything. So these are all just documents where I have that I can open up by just opening up the hyperlink or clicking on the hyperlink. In this case, it's a quotation or a sales order form. It might be that I have some other types of documents. And by the way, when I click Add, this just brings up my Windows File Explorer. You can use Dropbox, SharePoint, Network Drive, OneDrive, doesn't really matter. In this case, I have a Dropbox account. So you can see here that I have I attached a link to a document, but this is in a cloud storage. So now I can open it from wherever I happen to be. And again, I want to encourage people to ask questions during the webinar through the control panel there, and I will follow up with you after the webinar. So that's another example of using Profit to help track various activities and communications in your sales pipeline. And there's another aspect which I'm just going to go to briefly, and that is the ability to generate documents from Profit. And then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to cover some of these things in a little more detail here in a moment. But right now, I just want to kind of get you the flow of the things that you do to help manage your sales pipeline. One of them is the ability to generate documents. They could be project plans, proposals. They could be almost anything. I had term sheet. It'll auto-populate fields from the Profit CRM record and insert them into either a Microsoft Word doc or into an Excel template. And I'll show you that here in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to create a new proposal, and I'm going to call it the webinar example. When I click create, it's going to pull fields from the CRM record, in this case, the opportunity record, and it's going to create a Microsoft Word document, and it's going to be populated with all of those fields. There's the name, Brad Pitt, company name, Pitt International, and here's the city, state, zip, phone number, and email. And throughout this document, you'll see where it says pricing for Pitt International, cost comparison, background and goals for Pitt International. And this is just a Microsoft Word document. I do want to show you, though, by creating this document in Profit, it will actually generate a link to it so that source document can be opened either from the Files tab or the Notes tab. And this works in contacts, companies, and opportunities, by the way. If I were to want to generate a quote, so I'll just generate a system quote here, and I will call it webinar quote here. This is just the file name. When I click create, now it's going to pull information from Profit and populate it into an Excel form. Excel can be useful as a template because you can change things on the fly. You can have formulas built in. You can even use the drop-down lists in Excel, that capability. So I'm literally ready now, after creating that quote, to send it as a PDF attachment in an email, all of which I'm just doing in one smooth process here from the record in Profit. So in this case, I'm going to create this, and I'm going to send this to Brad. And here, and well, let's see, I really want to send it to Brad Pitt, don't I? I'll just send it to myself for the sake of argument here. All right, now I can add content to this email. Here's a little bonus material for the folks in the audience today. Did you know that you can insert content from templates right into an Outlook email? Works great. Works off keywords. You can see how it's predicting that I want to use my proposal content. I'm going to hit enter, and look at that. The whole thing's populated. Now when I send that, it's just going to be an Outlook email. Let me go back and share with the audience today how I did that. This is actually an Outlook function, but of course, because Profit is part of Outlook and is embedded in Outlook, it works very nicely with Profit. It's a function in Outlook called Quick Parts, and you can create a library of content, blocks of content or full emails. So if I wanted to insert that content, I just select it from the list, but it also works off the keyword that you've given that. So the keyword for that block of content is agenda. Now you notice it's predicting that. I could just type the word, then you hit F3, by the way, if you don't use the auto suggest feature. And there we go. Now I send that off to Brad, and he now has an email quote all generated through Profit. Pretty awesome. So while we're in the opportunity details here, I wanted to go in and talk a little bit more about the workflow and how that's set up. I've had a lot of people suggest that I cover that in one of my webinars. So all of those workflows, and again, we're referring to the emails, appointments, tasks, and all of those follow-up items are part of the setup, which happens here in the Profit Administrator. I put a little shortcut for my settings right there in Outlook. But you go into the Profit Sales Automation tab, and then you basically can create your emails, reminder tasks, and appointments, and then you can set them up as a series. So here's how that works. First, I'll show you one that's already been created by clicking the Edit button. Notice how it's picking up the first name of the contact. I've inserted the company name here in the email, so that when it actually gets processed, it looks like and really is a personalized email, albeit with the help of some technology. So you can create as many or as few of these as you like. The 1 week follow-up email is very simple. It just says, hello, first name. I'm just checking to make sure you have all the information you need. I've got to tell you, this stuff works great. When it processes, it'll automatically add your Outlook signature, by the way, which is pretty cool. Now, once you've created some of these, and by the way, I'll just show you how to create a new one. Let's say you wanted to create a new email template. And I'm going to call this my webinar email. Okay. Click OK. This just brings up the email template. The instructions are included in here, but you just delete them once you've read them. Or if you're like me, you just dive in and read the instructions later. Not that any of you be like that. And so here's where I create my content. And again, I'm a big believer in automation and shortcuts. So if I wanted to create that content, I could just put it into this template now. Now remember, you put a subject line in because it's an email. Now when that gets processed, it's going to email that is addressed by first name to that person. So that's how you create a new template. You could do appointments and tasks the same way. Once you've created one, then you assign it the properties that you want by selecting the item, click Assign, and you click Assign Workflow Action. You have to assign a stage to it. So in stage 1, maybe this would be my 7-day follow-up email. When I click Save, you'll see those now. In this, if I scroll down on that scroll bar on the right, you'll see all of my lead stage follow-up, my qualifying stage, my product demo stage, and my proposal stage, all part of my workflow. We do provide formal training on that, of course. Many of you have already taken the training, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. So the whole point of automating your follow-up is to make sure things don't fall through the cracks. And I was going to show you a little example of why that automated follow-up works so well, and also why I put in, you notice I had a set of 14 follow-ups that are part of my workflow. So I'm going to go in and show you some more analytics, and I think you'll find this very interesting. By the way, as we're progressing through here, I'm kind of jumping around just a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about these analytics, getting actionable insight. One of them is how actionable insight about your sales process. So in this case, you see I'm in a dashboard. I'm in my Analytics Dashboards folder. I am in an activity dashboard, and I'm looking at how many activities it takes to close a deal. So that was for the last month. You can put in any date range you want, so you can be very granular about it. Oh, interesting. For the quarter, it's only taken 9 activities. Let's see what the yearly average is. So a total of, somewhere between about 7 to 12 touches. Now, those touches consist of whatever you select here. You can pull any of these out of here. You can filter this by different departments. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but over here on the left, you can see as I filter by checking on these are my departments: sales, account management, client services. Each department can have a different data. So here I am. Let's take a yearly average of just this my sales department. Now, I'm going to filter it additionally by only picking up the manually driven sales activities. So it takes out all the automation, and there you can see for the year it's averaging 11. When I create an automated series for a new lead, you'll see, remember, it created 14 touches when I launched that first series. That's why, because I don't want to be short. Now, it's actually a very interesting and important topic here. I'm going to actually show you something, a little bit of shocking information about the lead follow-up. Let me just go to a little bit different reference diagram here. Here we go. Harvard Business Review did a study, and they studied lead follow-up, sales follow-up, and they found out a shocking thing. 30% of leads that are generated are never contacted at all. It's not because sales reps don't try. The average number of attempts to contact a new lead, according to this study, is 2 to 3 attempts on the average. But this study found, and I found this bears out to be true with my experience, that it takes a lot more than 2 or 3 attempts usually to contact a lead. This study says it takes 6 attempts to contact 90% of them. The whole point is that lead follow-up is crucial, and you've already invested a lot of time or work or energy in generating the leads, so don't waste it. But about the only way you could ensure that you get enough follow-up is through the automation. So that's the whole point of that. And the analytics will help you determine that. So let's go back and now kind of step back for a minute and talk about managing your sales pipeline by certain criteria. Your sales pipeline is just a list of all of the deals that you're working on. You can have different views though. So I'm in but you know, the whole cool thing is I'm still in Outlook. Here's my inbox. Here's my opportunity pipeline. This is what our clients like. Now, you'll see that these are columns that have labels on them like revenue, lead rating, lead type. These are just the labels in the opportunity record in this case. So you can see here that this has the stage, the probability, the estimated close date, and the potential revenue, among other fields. I'll show you a field that you might find useful. Lead rating: hot, warm, cool, cold, however you want to determine it. So I can basically choose any column I want. Any user can create their own views if they like. And they can drag and drop columns from one place to the other, move them around. You can go into choose different columns from basically any of the 100 or so customizable fields or system fields. Now here's where you can then start managing your pipeline by priority. Well, we all know sales is a priority because we're managing a sales pipeline. So of course you might want to sort it by the deal size descending. Notice as I start highlighting these records, you'll see that a summary appears down below. If you want to see what your top 10 opportunities are without running a report or anything, you just highlight them, and you can see I've got 10 deals. That's the number I selected, and I have 5.4 million in those 10 deals. Got to know which side your bread is buttered on, right? Well, that's awesome. Now, another criteria might be, let's say, well, let's do this lead rating one. Let's say I only want to look at warm or hot leads. So you can, it's just like an Excel filter. You click the little Excel looking funnel button and it'll open up a very familiar looking little filter capability. So you just select the values you want. So look at that. Now I've got it labeled to only my hot and warm. Maybe I want to narrow it down further by only my hot leads. I think you see where I'm going with this. Now this could be a way to just create a work plan for your day, but you could also use this to create like a mini blast of through Profit. Profit, by the way, does integrate with Constant Contact and MailChimp right out of the box. Takes a little setup, but we have integration for that right out of the box for contacts. But Profit has a very unique function that allows you to send a group email from any list in Profit. So in this case, I'm just going to send an email out to everyone and all my hot leads. Okay, I've just selected the salutation. I'm giving it importance, and I click Create Email. Now, what am I going to do here? I'm going to insert content from a template. It's my thank you for your interest email, and I'm going to make that the subject line. When I click send, everyone on this list is going to get a personalized Outlook email from me. So for managing your sales pipeline, this is a very effective way to do it. Because you're not only being able to do a one-on-one communication, but you can do one-to-many. And this is true with any list in Profit. So again, what I'm showing you is we're basically taking a list, we're selecting the columns we want in it, and if we've added some filters, in this case the geography of Hollywood, California, you can then say, I want to save that view or list and give it a name. You say Tools, Save View As, Warren's Hollywood Projects. Pretty cool. So we've just covered a couple of key things. The automated follow-up, so leads don't get cold and fall through the cracks. So we can set up a drip series for every lead, or whichever ones you want. How to sort by certain criteria, like revenue potential, or you can filter by any field, like lead rating or lead type, or any combination of these things. Now I'm going to talk about a concept called the next step. The next step is a powerful concept in Profit. And what it is the ability to just create basically your next follow-up task. So imagine if all of your people, all of your salespeople in particular, always remembered to just jot down what the next step is from every sales call. And when they put that into the record here, it creates a reminder to do it. Okay? That reminder is now shown in your tasks if you're looking at tasks here, but the truly automagic part of it is it's now in my Outlook task list reminding me to do it. I could have also blocked off time on my calendar or what have you. So the next step field is a very powerful field, and I encourage folks to start using it. You know, really, if you did a couple of very simple things, and that is when you create an opportunity, that you always set automated follow-up and you set your next step field, you'll be amazed how things keep moving along in the sales cycle. Very, very powerful. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how this is all configured. So all of those custom fields, and I just want to kind of demystify that a little bit for you. You will have, and if you're a client, you already do have and somebody asked me on the webinar about, can you customize the source field? Absolutely. All right. And you'll have a secure login. I'll just bring it over onto my screen here. You can now you have to be an administrator of Profit to do this, but one of the many things you can do in here is customize the fields that you might want. So I'll just take an example here. This is actually our template that I was just showing you. These are our sales stages. The default template the default template has default settings and labels in all of these. But for example, if I wanted to add a lead source, which is one of the questions today, I just go into that field and click edit. You can also change the label. What you see is what you get. Notice this one is mandatory, as I was sharing with you. If you don't use it, you can hide it, and I can set it as a drop-down date or text, and I can edit any of the values of it, or add an item. I just add a new activity or a new stage in this case. If I want to edit a stage, I just click the edit button. It's very easy to make those to basically activate them. The user simply has to close Outlook and reopen it, and those customizations will have been pushed out to everyone. So there are a total of about 84 fully customized fields. And by the way, you can change the names of these tabs to whatever you like as well, the three on the right. I will point out that the General tab has fixed properties, as I mentioned briefly before, because it drives so many reports, but you can certainly change the labels and all the drop-down lists and that sort of thing. So if you wanted to track how much business you're getting from different lead sources, that would be an excellent thing to do, is you create a field called lead source or lead type, and then you can see what's working for you. And again, just do more of it, right? So as we go through this, I want to make sure that I'm very thorough here. So we've covered pretty much all of this. So let's go into a little bit more detail here. And I want to review a few things here. Creating contacts. This is a simple but important part of Profit. You can create contacts 101 ways. All the ways that work in Outlook work in Profit. You can create new contacts just manually by saying new contact here. You can create contacts via the import. You can create contacts from inbound emails. And by the way, the nice thing about Profit using the contact form here is that card scanners work natively with the Outlook contact format. Pretty cool. And there's a number of them on the market that takes a picture of a card. I've used one called CamCard. I'm not endorsing any particular brand, but I found that one to be nice on my iPhone. Take a picture of a card, it creates a contact. Now, there is a function that I wanted to get into a little bit in terms of contacts, and that is what the private lock is all about. It's actually an Outlook function. We use it to basically, if you mark a contact private, it keeps it out of Profit. If you mark it as private beforehand, it keeps it from ever going into Profit. You can also use it to take it out of Profit. So let's show you the Outlook view. So Profit does a very unique thing with contacts, a very unique thing. We actually have patents on this. And that is it synchronizes contacts across all devices. So if I may, and this is for all your Profit users, if you create a contact in Outlook, unless you mark it private, it's a contact in Profit. Think of the business value of that. And it's so easy to create a contact from your phone or from an import or right on your Outlook screen. And what happens though is that Profit then puts all this and synchronizes it in the cloud. So if somebody updates a phone number or an email address instantly in real time, it's synchronized across all devices, your laptop, your desktop, your home computer, your phone, your tablets. It's pretty awesome. So part of the setup that we recommend, and many of you have gone through this, is before you install Profit or at some point later, you simply go through and mark contacts as private. Now, as I showed you, you could use the lock symbol and open the contact each time, but it's a lot quicker to just go into Outlook and use the field chooser. It's a nice little Outlook feature that lets you choose any column. You just drag it into your list view. Notice I have quite a few views up here. I know this is pretty granular, but I get a lot of questions about this. By marking them private, that way you can keep your dog groomer and your investment advisor and your aunt and uncle all in Outlook as well. One other thing is that another option is creating additional folders for contacts. For example, I have my LinkedIn contacts in a folder. Profit can actually create then views by any of these criteria. I'll show you what's behind the scenes on editing or creating a view. Is I can change it to say I want to look at my folders. I could say I want to create a view called my LinkedIn. Let's just create one here. Okay. These are my LinkedIn contacts. Now, all I got to do is select that folder because that's where those contacts reside. So when I resynchronize with that folder right here, you'll see what happens here. And so I can create a view of all of my LinkedIn contacts just simply because they are in a separate folder. And you'll see I have 270 LinkedIn contacts. Now to get those out of Outlook, you really need to download them from LinkedIn, and there are ways to integrate with Systems Live, but that would be one way that you can create a view of contacts, just like I did for my Hollywood contacts. Only that one would be created by a folder. Here's contacts with hobbies. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the contact aspect, again, drilling a little deeper now into this aspect of it. So one of the concepts is Profit has these customizable fields. Salespeople might want to know what the hobbies are. If Joe calls me and says, hey, I could say, hey, how's your fly fishing going? Been anywhere interesting lately? Things of that nature. So any of these fields can be used to create a view in Profit. A simple filtered view would be a view filtered by geography. So let's just say I wanted to say all of the contacts in New Jersey or in Washington or whatever. So these can all be created by geography. For example, here's my contacts in New Jersey. All I did is I added a very simple filter that says I only want those that are in New Jersey. Now I also put a created date filter so I don't get really old stuff in my system. So the point is that you can use any field in Outlook or any of the custom fields to create views in Profit. A very useful view I like is my current client view. Gosh, that's an important one. I might want to reach out and send it something to all of my current clients. So the idea is that you can use any of these fields to create views, and you can also use any of these views to create on-the-fly filtered lists. So a good example of that might be, maybe I want to create a view of, let's just pick something here. I'm going to load my entire contact database, 4,457 of them, but I only want those that are marked as a prospect. That's a category in profit here in Outlook. I got 2,400, so about half of these contacts are prospects. Now maybe I want to look at only those that are in Pennsylvania, some other random. Notice how it picks up all the variations of PA in Pennsylvania there. So I have 79 prospects in Pennsylvania. Pretty cool. Maybe I want to send them all an email. Profit also has a mail merge feature, by the way. You can just launch a mail merge. Just opens the Microsoft Word mail merge feature, which is very cool. And one other thing while I'm in this deeper into the contact area, and we do have about 5 more minutes here before we wrap up, is the ability to sync, to integrate with MailChimp and Constant Contact. That's what that would look like if you wanted to use Profit as the database and use another email system, third-party email system. But really, going back to the main concept of this, you can sort and filter by any field, so you can create relevant views. I've got a view called My Proposal Stage, all the deals I've won. I'll tell you something that's an interesting thing to track, and might be a little counterintuitive, but lost deals. So we have fields for lost reason. You know what our biggest reason for not getting a deal is? No decision at all. But you can keep track of any number of different things. You might want to put which competitor you lost it to. You could then go in and do some forensics on your sales pipeline that you lost in order to gain insight on the why you're losing deals, so you can correct that. And so one more pass through, a little deeper level through the dashboards here, and I want to also point out that we are actually now on the Microsoft Power BI platform. So what that means is that if you are a Microsoft Power BI user, you can actually create your own dashboards and point it to your profit database. So it's actually really cool that I'll just show you a quick example of some stuff here. Give me one moment to bring that up. Here we go. One of my colleagues, Barry, is quite the expert in this Power BI things, but we're developing lots of dashboards for our clients. But again, if you're a BI user, you can certainly develop them yourself. So what this allows you to do is take and create these visual dashboards for virtually any data in the system, all kinds of interesting stuff that you can create. And there's a selection of over 35 different chart types and graph types. And you can also create dashboards that combine other data even outside of the Profit CRM database. We can also embed those dashboards, the custom dashboards, in Profit. And again, you have whatever it is that you're wanting to see visually. So a real quick review of what we're have been covering here, and then we'll wrap up. So the 7 concepts that we've been going through here and learning about are: capture important data, obviously, but still needs a little discipline, and use all those customizable fields if your business requires that. So capturing key data is one of the key concepts here. Always establish that next step. You'll be amazed how much that does for you. Set automated follow-up to ensure things don't fall through the cracks. It'll then let you start managing your sales pipeline by your own priorities, but revenue potential, estimated close date, type of client, lead ratings, and so on. And one simple concept, which is actually amazingly simple, is think of it this way. It's good if you all get together and agree on a simple concept. And that is, if it's not in Profit, it didn't happen. And all it takes is when you talk to a prospect or a client, you put a note in the file. It's one click. You could do it from your phone, but then you always have your activity updated, and that helps you keep track of how cold leads get, so you keep them from getting too cold. And finally, using Profit's analytics and reports to gain actionable insights. Well, we've reached the top of the hour here. I want to thank everyone for attending, and I'm going to post some contact information just for a minute here. Feel free to call on any of our team members or me personally. I'm here to help. I want to thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again soon.